Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are back in War Thunder and we're having a look at some of the vehicles that are discounted right now because of the G sale. In this video we're going to have a look at aviation stuff and also just to remind you that there is going to be a pack sale in a week's time on the Gaijin store. Most of the high tier stuff in terms of packs for aviation, or most of the high tier stuff in the tech trees I should say, are packs. So for example the F5, F4S, F20, F8B, the F18C, all of these are pack vehicles. So in this video, we're going to be having a look at kind of the best of the G vehicles. But if you're looking for like really high tier stuff, you're going to have to wait maybe a week or so, and then they'll start coming out. So the first vehicle we're having a look at is the XP50. This recently got nerfed, so it's not as good as it used to be, but let's be honest, it was insanely overpowered. So this now is just really good and really powerful. It isn't insanely overpowered in a realistic, and it still will work incredibly good as a fighter and being able to kind of dominate the air. It has a good climb rate, it has great mobility, and a really good set of weaponry on it with 250 cals and 220s for the 4.0 BR. And since it's rank 3, you'll be able to do all of your dailies and specials with it, and also just relax with it. It's a great start to the American tech tree. I would say that the American tech tree is generally very good, so you don't really need a premium to get through it, but stuff like the XP50 or maybe the BTD1, if you prefer multi-role stuff, can actually help you through it, but it's not really necessary. It's just kind of a nice vehicle to have because it's just super easy and fun to fly. The next vehicle is the DO335B2. This one is just incredibly fun. I don't know how else to put it. If you decide to play it in aerialistic, it's a fantastic bomber hunter and then a great support fighter for all of your other fighters that are around. If you decide to use it in ground, you have an insanely crazy loadouts. You first of all get two 250 kilo bombs plus a 500 kilo if you even want to bring these, and then on top of that you have three 30mm Mk103s. You have one in each of the wings, and then you have a centrally mounted one too right here. You also have the 20mm MG151s, which are also very good. The Mk103s are the high velocity versions of the 30mm, so they get this wonderful HVAP round, which can pretty much go through anything on the ground as long as you're hitting it from the side or the top. So this machine can just nuke stuff in ground realistic. And since it's a 5.7, you can run it with the Panthers, you can run it with the Tigers, and you can have just a fantastic time with it. The only problem is in ground is you need air superiority to be able to be as useful, since you're pretty heavy with the whole bomb load, but you can remove the bomb load and go fighter mode, and that also works pretty well with the machine. But in general, there's going to be better vehicles at doing air superiority, but it's at least an option. But if you are left up and nobody attacks you from the sky, you can dominate a match with this thing and just annihilate everything. It is just crazy. The next vehicle is the Ju-288C. So this one is for the people who just want to kind of chill and grind through the game, maybe read a book at the same time, maybe watch a TV show, or maybe watch a movie. Basically, with the Ju-288, you get two big bombs, and what you can do with them is, they even added the 2500s to this, by the way, but basically you can nuke two bases, and then you can go back to your airfield, and then do it like that. They also gave it incendiaries, so you can do it even more efficiently than you could previously, and with the amount of kind of research and rewards that this thing gets, you can just have a really, really nice time with it. If you play ground realistic as well, two 2500 kilo bombs is going to leave two very large dents in things. And also, as a vehicle, this thing is actually quite maneuverable for how large it is. It also gets the DB610 engines, which are two 605s kind of like smashed together, so it's technically a 4-engined bomber. And then also you have a really good defense in the form of this 20mm MG151 in the booty, and then also 13s around it too to give it some additional defense as well. So this thing's really fast for a bomber. You can hit bases, you can get out of there, and then you can reset over and over and over again. It's super chill to use, very relaxing, and also you can grind through the tech tree to the jets without even really thinking about it, which I think is quite nice. The Ac3 VK107 is always one that I suggest for people, basically because the USSR tech tree, has a lot of really weird and wonky vehicles at rank 4, which aren't exactly fun to play. And since they're not fun to play, it kind of makes them really hard to go through, and especially in air, even though the meta kind of like suits them nowadays, like the more like furboil kind of mid to low tier meta, you have quite a lot of zeros, you have quite a lot of Spitfires that can outdo you in that way. So it's nice to have a vehicle like the Yak-3 VK107 that can outdo them. It basically has a more powerful engine than most of the Yaks, and then it also has the 220mm, so you can kind of hammer stuff going through. And you really have quite high rewards, especially when it comes to SL, which will help out this vehicle too. So for me, I think in general, this is a great vehicle to pick up just because of that weird odd area which you know, a lot of these vehicles kind of sit in, and at the same time early jets can be a little bit rough for the Soviets too. You also have like the Su-11 and the MiG-15 Bish, which are both in really quite nice places right now, especially the Bish. So maybe if you want to kind of do that, you can do that too. You also have other stuff like the MiG-21S, which I've seen a lot of people do pretty well with, catching people out with the R3Rs, along with the R3Ss, but I've never had any luck in vehicles like this because there's no countermeasures. So as a person who believes around this BR, since you face a lot of vehicles with all-aspect missiles like the Su-25s, you really need countermeasures. So yeah, that one's a little bit dodgy, but I do see a lot of people using this and using it to great effect after I destroy them with a missile. You know how it is. The Bish is in a nice place, the Yak-3 is in a nice place, the Su-11 and the MiG-21 are more specialist vehicles at the moment that people will also enjoy. For Britain, you have a bunch of American vehicles that are all really fun to play. The Corsair F Mk II at rank 2 is one of those, which is heavily under BR'd compared to where it should be. This vehicle has access to a 1,000-pound bomb, so you can be useful in naval and ground, which is really nice, but it also has the 50 cals. It has a good old 6 of them, and it does have the early war belts instead of the late war belts, so you don't get that crazy APIT, but you do get really nice universal belts, which do really well. The Corsair is insanely fast for its BR. It's very good at boom and zooming, but the only issue is the game might be over before you get into position, and that's something that does happen with the Corsair, but for me, I don't think is like a massive issue, because the vehicle can carry even if there's like 4, 5, 6, 7 planes left on the enemy team. It's really fun to play, and as a premium, you get bonuses, which are nice. It's very similar to the Japanese Corsair, which also is in a really nice place too. You also have the G-LYNX for Britain. This is a very fast helicopter, which has access to countermeasures, has access to thermals, not exactly the best optics, but good enough, and also gets access to the Stingers, plus it has the wonderful Hellfires. So basically, with this vehicle, you can use the thermals and engage a lot of vehicles at around about 8 kilometers, or a little bit less, or a little bit more, and IR missile SAMs cannot touch you. And then also the only thing that can really go after you are stuff like the Sackler stuff, so things like the Roland and things like that. And if they decide to go after you, it's not going to work because you'll be able to see it coming in with the thermals, you'll be able to dodge and then go again. So this vehicle is really powerful at basically going alongside the 10-7 ground lineup for Britain with the Challengers and also the Vickers and all of that stuff. And this is fantastic cast support for them, where you can just annihilate things as you go around. The only thing I would say about this vehicle is the simple fact that the optics aren't exactly great, but with the thermals, you can still basically pick out targets really easily while also not really being able to die because you have such a low heat signature, and people don't usually know you're there until your Hellfires are already being fired. There's a bunch of vehicles for Japan, which is super fun as premiums. You know, you have a lot of the American vehicles, you have a lot of the kind of one-off prototype Japanese vehicles, but the one that I'd like to point out is the A7M1NK9H. This is pretty much the same as the standard A7M2 in the tech tree, apart from it has a slightly different engine. This one has 2,000 takeoff power. It also has access to two 20mm Type 99 Model 2s, and then also two 13.2mm, giving you enough firepower to really annihilate stuff. The way that I describe the A7s is similar with like the Spitfire Griffins, right? The Spitfire Merlin engine aircraft in-game are really good at maneuvering, they're really good at climbing, but generally they have a problem with diving and then also catching targets. But when the Griffin engine was introduced on the Spitfire, at least in War Thunder, that changed because it was able to dive. It had that kind of extra power, that extra weight, and it gave it a new kind of string to its bow. The A7 is in exactly the same spot compared to stuff like the A6. It is still highly maneuverable. It's still fantastic to fly. It still climbs pretty well, but it also is able to dive and energy fight, just like stuff like the Key 84. So this vehicle is just in a really nice place to basically pick your own playstyle and work out how you want to play it. I would say personally that this is one of my favorite kind of Zeros in the tech trees that exist in the game. And I would say if you haven't given it a go, I'd highly recommend it. And if you don't want to purchase it, you can always play the A7 M2, which is in the standard tech tree, which is also really, really good. The F-84G-31RE for China exists. This one is just kind of like a basic, easy vehicle to play. It gets an air spawn in aerialistic. It's able to do a crazy amount of damage with its 650 cals of the M3, so they have the higher fire rate. And also, once again, you get that wonderful tracer belts that you can run. It also gets access to a bunch of ordnance, so you can bring it along in ground realistic and have a really good time with it. And also, it has really high rewards on it, so you're able to kind of grind through the tech tree and not really have any issues with it. The Chinese tech tree, especially at the start of it, there's a lot of copy-paste stuff. It's kind of dull. There's not really a ton of things to play which are massively different from other nations, but with the F-84G, you can use this to get through all those and then get to the jets where the fun times begin with stuff like the J7E, the F5s, and also even the J8 and things like that. So for me, this is just kind of a vehicle to skip all the copy-paste stuff to get to the fun stuff for China. And I understand it's a copy-paste vehicle itself, but it's a highly efficient copy-paste vehicle, which makes it incredibly fun to play since it gets that air spawn and you can just hammer people as you go around. Really, really simple, really effective, and generally in premiums, that's what you want. For Sweden, you have the J35XS. Now, this one is going to probably cause a bit of controversy because of the simple fact that this vehicle in the past wasn't in a great place. It faced a lot of stuff like F-14s, for example, and a lot of other vehicles that are insanely powerful. But nowadays, it's a 10.3, which basically means that this vehicle is in a super nice place compared to everything else. The only thing that this vehicle doesn't have really is an RWR, but most people don't use semi-actives around this BR or don't know how to use semi-actives around this BR. It also has access to 6 of the AIM-9Js or the RB-24Js, giving you very nice firepower to use. You also have a backup gun, which definitely is a secondary. You only have a 30mm can, which can be a little bit hard to aim, like it's on the side over here, but at least they gave its tracers back. And also, it only gets 12 large caliber countermeasures. But this thing is also really maneuverable, and as long as you understand how to maneuver it around and which missiles you need to countermeasure and which missiles you don't, you will have a fantastic time. The fact that it's a super good dogfighter, the fact that it has a nice engine on it, the fact that it has this type of weaponry should really make you consider purchasing this thing. Weirdly enough, this thing is actually higher BR in ground than it is in air, just because in air it had to deal with a lot of crazy things. But nowadays, with the meta the way it is, I honestly think this vehicle is in quite a nice place compared to what we've seen before. So for me, I would say definitely worth picking this one up if you are a person who enjoys jets. And also, I will say at the same time in the Swedish tech tree, there are some other vehicles which are great. The Saab 105 is great. You know, the Pyramirski is also one that I think is really good. But this one is a lot higher rank, and you are a little bit kind of low in the rank 7 area for jets. So if you want to go through and get the F-18C, it's a lot easier with this thing to be able to do that. So that is something to at least think about. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecovo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.